Fact check.
Facts.
Fact check. I'm just stating the facts.
Facts. Facts. Fact check. Facts.
I'm stating facts, 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 facts.
All right, so here's another quick fact check of Joe Biden. Nothing over the top necessarily, but just Joe being Joe, right? So this came up recently. I saw it said, was Biden really a full professor at the University of Pennsylvania? And I say it recently came up. It recently came up on a timeline, or I saw it in some video or Twitter maybe. I'm starting to use Twitter a little bit more. I'm still learning that, by the way. I'm an old man. I don't really do Twitter. But I did see it recently come up, but this is an old claim. I mean, Joe's been doing this for a long time and he's still doing it. But let's see what Snopes has to say about this. It's a mixture. True and false, right? U.S. President Joe Biden was a full professor at the University of Pennsylvania for 4 years. Let's see how they break this down. Well, it's true. From 2017 to 2021, then former Vice President Joe Biden was the Benjamin Franklin Presidential Practice Professor at the University of Pennsylvania. During his time there, he collected more than $900,000. However, what's false? This role was honorary. Okay. He gave lectures and talks to students on campus, but did not teach a full semester's course load during that time. So just based off of that, let's go back up here. Was he a full professor? I would say no. Just because you give lectures or talks, which so many politicians do, doesn't make you a professor, despite where you give those talks. But it says it's a mixture. Let's see if it gives us why. In mid to late 2023, a number of posts on X and TikTok circulated showing U.S. President Joe Biden saying he taught political theory at the University of Pennsylvania for 4 years. The post argued that Biden was lying and that he never taught a single class at UPenn. There's some there. Questions about Biden's role at UPenn have circulated for years. In mid-April 2022, for instance, his critics latched on to a speech in which he claimed to have been a full professor for 4 years at the university. RNC Research on Twitter says Biden for 4 years, I was a full professor at the University of Pennsylvania. In fact, Biden was paid $1 million but never taught a single class. We just saw, based off of Snopes' own words, that that's correct, right? Biden once held an honorary, that's not the same as whatever, an honorary professor position at UPenn from 2017 to 2021 after being Vice President Barack Obama's administration. However, he did not teach a semester's worth of courses. He primarily gave talks and lectures to students, and he led the Penn Biden Center for Diplomacy and Global Engagement in Washington, D.C. As such, we rate this claim a mixture. To me, it sounds like a mostly false or completely false claim, not a mixture of them. Did he work for them? Did he have an honorary position? Yes. Was he a professor at all? No. Was he a full professor? Obviously not. Did he teach? No, he just gave lectures. Okay. And he talked about politics. I'm so aggravated by this. So not only have we fact checked Joe Biden as false, Snopes right here. We already talked about Snopes, 2 weeks ago, how they're covering for Biden. Let's look at another one for PolitiFact. Same thing. I taught at the University of Pennsylvania for 4 years. Now that's just, they don't say full professor. They just word it a little differently. And it says half true. Guess why? For the same reasons, right? President Joe Biden holds a copy of Republican study. That's in the picture. I don't care. All right. If your time is short, and our time is always short here, and I appreciate that you give me your time. President Joe Biden served as a professor of practice at the University of Pennsylvania starting in 2017. His duties went on for about 2 years instead of 4. There's another good point, because he went on unpaid leave in 2019 to run for president. Biden's role involved panel discussions and the other public appearances, but not classroom teaching. Learn more, yada, yada, yada. So there again, he wasn't a teacher, and he only did it for 2 out of the 4 years. And he was paid $900,000. This is what aggravates me about politicians, and we're going to get into that more in a little bit here, specifically the Republicans, but all, right? I can't stand how wealthy and rich these politicians get for not sticking up for us and not doing their job in Congress or as vice president, president, or whatever, like they're supposed to. let's compare this fact check to this other fact check. And I'm doing this, I did steal this from watching Andrew at Don't Walk Around Productions. He pointed this one out, and I thought it was pretty interesting. And this was a PolitiFact one, so I wanted to pull it up because it's apples to apples, kinda. So because it's a PolitiFact is where I'm getting that from. So if we look down here, this was from Kelly McEnany back in 2020. Actually, on my birthday. That's my birthday, y'all, June 3rd. I'll be 40 this year. I'm very excited about it and terrified at the same time. No tear gas was used and no rubber bullets were used. This was during a riot in DC. She said no tear gas and no rubber bullets were used. And if we look down here, if your time is short, yep. It says White House Press Secretary Kelly McEnany, who was awesome. She was fire. If you remember her, not only was she just awesome, she was great to look at too, but she had her facts and she was on point. She held the press accountable. I loved listening to her hold everybody accountable and having the actual facts. It was such a relief to hear her instead of what, like we've got now with Jen Psaki and Jean-Pierre, that's up there now. But White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany said federal police used neither tear gas nor rubber bullets to clear protesters from around D.C. church where Trump was to visit. Federal police used pepper balls containing a chemical irritant that matches a federal definition of tear gas. Pepper balls are fired at about the same speed as rubber bullets and can cause similar or greater pain on impact. I will say this, and I think this goes into a deeper explanation on this one, which we won't dive into, but she didn't say anything false. But they gave this one a mostly false. So the claim was no tear gas was used. No tear gas was used. Pepper bullets were used. That's not the same as tear gas. Is it similar? Yes. I can even see them giving her maybe a mostly true, because it's true no tear gas was used, but some pepper balls were shot. That's similar. Okay, maybe she misworded it intentionally. I'm not giving her a pass. Maybe she was trying to, misword and say, oh no, what tear gas, and it was something very, very similar. So I'll give PolitiFact that. But no rubber bullets were used. So this pepper ball that's being shot out, if it were to hit somebody, it's a similar speed to a rubber bullet. That's not what they're used for. Rubber bullets are to hit people, right? And impact them, not like an actual bullet, but to push back a little bit, to hit the wind out of them or whatever. It's a rubber bullet. It's not meant to do insane amounts of damage by any means at all. But the point is to hit someone with it. The point of these pepper balls was not to hit someone, but to release the toxin, gas, whatever we want to call it. I'll go with almost tear gas here. But it was to release that pepper spray kind of stuff, right? So yeah, no rubber bullets were used. That's a stretch to try to make that work. To me, that's a stretch. Whereas the tear gas versus the pepper ball, pepper spray kind of stuff being similar, I can kind of give them a pass at that. This neither needs to be true or mostly true, in my opinion. But because she's a Republican, she's going to get mostly false, even though her statement is technically completely true, technically. Whereas Joe Biden saying he was a full professor, which is completely false, they're going to give it a 50-50 on it. So I don't understand that at all. To me, they know what they're doing. The gatekeepers of truth are hard at work at protecting the Democrats. Nothing new there. So, yeah, those are your facts.
Hey guys, thanks for checking out this clip from the Morning Mayhem. Remember, this is just a portion of the full show that comes out every Friday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. If you hadn't already, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the full shows or these tasty little nuggets.